All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our stream. I'm sure if everybody was checking their prices on crypto on their phone this morning when they got out of bed, or maybe last night before they go into sleep, or just anytime this weekend, you've likely seen a lot of green on the charts after months and months and months of just like relentless red bearish action, okay? And, you know, this looks like it could be the turnaround for the crypto markets. And in this video, I want to talk about what that could look like, some scenarios you need to watch out for, some indicators that are pointing to this, and, you know, sort of what we need to watch over the next several days and weeks to confirm whether this is going to stick and we're going to see new all-time highs, you know, maybe relatively soon on the grand scheme of things. We're talking about all that in this video and, you know, why this is happening and what you should watch out for. So, if you're new around here, well, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a lot of other stuff that's happened since our live stream on Thursday. Missed the one on Friday. So anyways, you know, answer some of your questions and a lot more. If you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, last but not least, like nothing I'm saying in this video is my financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. And there's always going to be lots of scammers in that comment section below. Just ignore them. Like I'm never going to give you my phone number on YouTube. Never going to ask you to invest with me. Never going to DM me on social media about paid promotion, any of that. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here today. We got Culture Eyes, Ethan, CodeChap, Automatic Beats, Madison Lee, Chris, Christopher. So we got a Chris and a Christopher. Vishal, Robert, Yanni, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, so let's jump into this. So like I was saying before, if you've been checking on crypto markets at all this weekend, you've seen a lot of green on the charts, and it's been, you know, a pretty wild ride after, you know, several months of just red, relentless bearishness. And this week, we're starting to see some confidence return to the marketplace, a lot of green, a lot of people hungry for gains, all right? In fact, we've seen actually the crypto fear and greed index flip back into greed territory for the first time in a very long time, okay? So basically, this is analyzing social sentiment across social media about, you know, what is people's appetite for risk in the crypto market, using Bitcoin as a proxy for that. We have been in fear and extreme fear for a very long time, okay? And now the social sentiment for that is actually flipping back towards the green side of things. So let's take a quick look at where we're at with the crypto market and where I think, you know, we could potentially head next, and some key points to watch out for, why I think this is happening, all that type of stuff. So, you know, currently we are up to, let's see, the current price on Bitcoin. We're at we're above $47,000. Okay, it looks like we're trying to smash $48,000. And we went up pretty fast. And that's one thing to note here is that the crypto markets, this stuff can turn around really, really, really fast. Okay, and right now, you know, we are basically, at the moment, we have broken out of this resistance line here that we've been sort of like trying to get past and keep getting rejected. But we're starting to see the momentum change in the opposite direction from this bearishness that we've seen over the past several months to we're seeing our moving averages actually reverse trend along with the price itself, smash through some of these resistance lines and headed for the next critical level, which is going to be that 200-day moving average. Okay. So let's actually talk about, so let's sort of set the stage for how we got here before we talk about a potential reversal and why I think this could happen, okay? So basically, you know, over the past several months, we have seen this bearishness. When did it start? Well, it started back in November, okay? But then it just rapidly accelerated, and we saw this sort of fall off a cliff right here, okay? And then we see more and more and more sort of this like just straight to the floor price action. So why is that? Well, as always, crypto is volatile. Okay, so we're naturally going to see some of these sort of ups and downs, but this does not really necessarily match the normal volatility of crypto. And I think it looks something that's much more akin to what happened, you know, back in March 2020. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So basically, you know, you had like my base case for the entire crypto space is that essentially we're creating technology that has real use cases, real benefits for other people, and the cryptocurrencies, you need them to participate in that technology, and those cryptocurrencies have sound economic design, which basically means that they have a finite supply, and if you need those cryptocurrencies to participate with the technology that, you know, as you create technology that is useful for other people, the demand for that tech goes up, and you know, along with that demand, the price of the cryptocurrencies go up because you need them, and there's a fine supply, and the demand goes up, the price goes up. So basically, that's the base case, all right? But you see that trend playing out over time. But you have periods like, March 2020, where you have sort of outlying factors that depress that trend, all right? You could go back and see March 2020 and see that, we could have, really started the bull market that we're a part of right now way earlier. But we saw, sort of a brief detour on that. Well, what was that? Well, it was the global pandemic, right? All the stuff that caused everything to kind of, put a pause on life and sort of change course for a little while, a detour. Crypto market was no exception, okay? Now, we saw a pretty big correction back here, but you could definitely argue that was part of a really fast-moving bubble that we saw before. So I think what we've seen over the past several months has been much more akin to March 2020 than sort of this feverish, bubble-ish blow-off section right here. Not exactly a blow-off top, but, definitely a fast move followed by a fast correction. So, what have been the big factors here? Definitely, I think what's going on with the monetary policy from the Federal Reserve. People have been worried about what's going to happen there. Are we going to see really tightening monetary policy? And I think we're starting to see some of the fears of that subside, especially with the conflict that's going on with Europe. People have been very worried about that, and we're starting to see some of those fears subside. So I think what's happening here is you can see some natural volatility from the crypto markets, essentially. But then you add on all these additional things that cause everybody to panic. And then you saw crypto essentially do this and then kind of be in this chop for a while. It's slowly moving back upward. We've seen this in the stock market. We've seen it everything else. So that's how I think we've gotten here. So now how do I think we can get out of it? Well, like I was saying before, my base case for this technology is still it's in a long-term uptrend for quite some time. Okay, based on just the actual technological adoption, you're talking about a technology that's growing twice as fast as the internet was at the same number of users. Sorry, I just realized I was not sharing my screen here. I've been talking for like 5 minutes without sharing my screen. You're talking about technology is growing twice as fast as the internet was at the same number of users. Okay, as in the late 90s, all right? And so as that continues to go up, basically you're seeing all these trends take off. Now, let's talk about the actual prices in the short term and some of the other indicators to actually validate sort of where I'm going with that thesis. So basically, I think we're seeing people's appetite for risk come back into the marketplace and continue on with that trend, okay? So like I said before, we smashed through some of these resistance lines. These moving averages are definitely ones to watch out for sure. Basically, these are looking at the long-term price history relative to the current price. You can see what's going on the 50-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is moving back into an uptrend, okay? The next one to watch out for is going to be the 200-day moving average, which would definitely, if we can basically get above both of those and hold them as support after the price becomes volatile. As always, crypto is going to go up, it's going to go down. It's a very volatile asset. If it goes up and it goes down and it bounces off any of these levels, that's pretty good confirmation that we would likely see the all-time highs in major assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others relatively soon on the grand scheme of things, okay? Now, let's talk about what could happen, what could potentially invalidate this? Because, we have a thesis about where we think this is headed. We have data on the page here that shows us where we think we are now. Okay, so what could change the picture of the future? Well, as always, any kind of like major, thing outside of crypto that we have no control over could, end the party early, just like we've seen happen, multiple times in the past, which I just outlined here in this video. With the pandemic, with monetary policy, with international conflict, all that type of stuff. Okay, and then crypto would not be alone in that case. It could be stock market, it could be everybody. So that could be one thing. But what we're seeing actually some indicators on the page from the crypto side of things that could potentially change this. So basically, if we start seeing these big moving averages here as being just resistance and we just can't get past them, that's going to be a little bit of a red flag. Now, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if we went up to some of these much longer term moving averages like 200-day and got rejected the first time. Not that big a deal. I mean, we've seen rejections at some of these resistance lines for a while. In one sense, it could be bad if Bitcoin in general decides to just try to rocket off to like 60K from here. It's not really a sustainable move, and it's gonna quickly correct, most likely in the opposite direction. So it wouldn't surprise yourself from rejection here. The only things that I would be concerned about as potentially invalidating this move is if, you know, we got rejected and we started going back down to maybe like breaking below $40,000, okay? That's about the level that I would start to potentially be, you know, say, well, maybe this thing's not actually going to stick. But I think the likelihood of that is decreasing, okay? And I think the big takeaway from what we're seeing with this weekend's price action is that the likelihood that crypto is in some really massive, ugly, grueling, long-term crypto winter that a lot of people have feared, the likelihood for that just went down like absolutely, like crazy. It went down like crazy. And at the end of the day, nobody exactly knows for sure what's going to happen in the crypto markets. I'm not making this video to pretend that I know what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month, because you always have to look at stuff in terms of likelihood, and that likelihood has a range of scenarios, and all those start from your thesis or your base case for what you think is going to happen, and I've outlined that. But, you know, what are the range of possible scenarios within that? Well, as always, something could affect your base case, your thesis that's outside of your control, like, you know, international events, whatever it is. So you look at the range of possibilities. But the range of possibilities, you know, it does include some sort of catastrophic, you know, crypto winter like we've seen in the past. But the likelihood of that is now like really, 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 really low, in my opinion. All right, just by what we're seeing here. Okay. And the likelihood that we're going to make new all-time highs, you know, relatively soon in the grand scheme of things, just got a lot higher based on the action that we're seeing here. So let's talk about, you know, why that could happen and some other indicators to watch out for to, you know, confirm whether this is going to have legs or not. Okay, so another thing to watch out for is definitely what's going on with some of the on-chain metrics, okay? So these are some metrics that we definitely seen play out like this in the past. So essentially the net unrealized profit loss on the Bitcoin blockchain itself, okay, so this basically looks at the amount of network supply that's in profit versus loss, okay, net unrealized profit loss. And you can see what this data does over time, you know, with sort of market tops and bottoms, okay? So you can use this metric in two ways. One way is essentially look for euphoric price action to indicate when we could see a fast correction, okay? So we saw this back in previous bull markets where anytime we went into the blue, right, we saw some sort of long-term correction, okay? And we've seen it in the past here, we've seen it here, we've seen it here, okay, we've seen it here. And a lot of people were definitely waiting to see blue territory before this, you know, got sold off really fast. And we didn't quite go into the blue, we hit the blue, all right? And we didn't even hit it here, and we continued into some correction. So what the opposite of this metric is also looking at what's happened whenever we go back into the green territory for continuing, you know, a leg upward. So we saw this, you know, back here last summer after we had this sort of bubblish period, and then crypto corrected for about 3 months. And then, you know, basically we started to get back up into green. And as we started getting back up into green, we sort of slowly got into the green, and it looks like we were in the belief phase of the rally. Okay, and we stayed firmly in belief until we saw some correction here. And like I said before, you could likely see that this correction descended into sort of this really bearish territory because of factors outside of the crypto bull market. That's at least my opinion, okay? So the next thing to watch out for is crypto or Bitcoin in general, basically getting up into this area of belief and staying in this area of belief in terms of on-chain data before we gain more confidence in this trend. Now, we could, like I say, every time we get into the green, you could quickly revisit the yellow territory and test that a few times, but not always, right? Like we came through here before and we just smashed through it and went off, you know, Bitcoin price went from $13,000 up to, you know, $60,000 basically in a matter of just a few months. All right. So that's what can happen. Things can change really quickly in crypto. Whenever, you know, people are like checked out and not watching, that's honestly a lot of times when crypto makes some of its biggest moves and trend reversals. And, you know, as I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on this channel, you know, I've still been cautiously optimistic throughout this entire process. If you've been watching this channel, let me know in the comment section below. Have you heard me say that? I'm not just making that up. You can go back and watch any of the past live streams here. And I still remain cautiously optimistic, just a little more optimistic than I was before, because we're seeing confirmation of these types of things play out in the marketplace right now. And all that optimism comes from my base case of where I think crypto's headed based on the technology, which is ultimately what I focus on this channel. But that does have a significant bearing on the price of cryptos themselves, okay? So the last thing I'm going to talk about is why we can continue to see this happen. And one of the biggest factors, in my opinion, why we've seen crypto asset prices go up along with every other asset price over the past, decade plus, stocks, real estate, crypto, it doesn't matter what it is, you name it. Maybe not gold, but many assets, is basically, what's going on with the monetary policy, especially with central banks, especially in the United States. Okay, so we talked about how the Fed tightening the monetary policy has kind of freaked the market out, but there are some indications to where we could see more loose monetary policy and also potentially more, increasing, basically more printing. So let me just pull this on my screen here. So this is from Raul over at Global Macro Investor and also Real Vision Finance. Talked a ton about Raul in this market. He's done a lot of great work at analyzing digital assets and also just commenting on the macro scene, especially as it pertains to digital assets. So while we were all politely chatting about inflation at the end of the world, twos and tens swap curve just went negative. 100% chance of recession, 100% chance of stimulus, in the future. So do you want to be short growth? Too late. That ship was the last 12 months. Was the last 12 months sale. So basically, it's seeing growth. Basically the idea that growth going down has already happened, and that we're likely to see more risk enter into the marketplace, with some of this monetary policy, and that crypto would likely follow that. Crypto has been following what's been going on in the stock market pretty closely, particularly in tech, particularly growth, all that type of stuff. And there are some indicators that could see that we could continue to see money flow into that as an extra tailwind for this movement, in addition to what's been going on with just adoption of technology, all that type of stuff. At the end of the day, I do think people's appetite for risk is coming back. Okay, I think sort of the peak fears about what's going to happen with monetary policy are behind us. At least that's what it looks like for now. I think that some of the peak fears about the international conflict are probably behind us. I don't know for sure, not an expert on this particular topic, but that's just my read on what we see for now, okay? And for that reason, I think we're starting to see the types of sentiment change, like I shared on my screen here, go back into the green, all right? And whenever crypto sort of gets this momentum and starts, really snowballing in terms of green price, some of this can kind of be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because that's sort of the psychology, particularly of the retail investor. It's, buy crypto when it's, up and sell it when it's down. It's like the exact opposite of what you should be doing, but that's how most people operate, and they sort of chase moves, okay? So that's why I say definitely not financial advice. I'm telling you to buy crypto based on this information, but that's where I think things are headed, and that's where I see the indicators, and that's what you should be watching out for. So what do y'all think down in the comment section below? Let's see here. Is it too early to tell? Are we not in a clear breakout? Do you think that Bitcoin's going to all-time high? If you do, when do you think it's going to be? And what do you think the next price level is going to be? Let me know down in the comment section below. Are we going to 70K? Are we going to 100K? Are we going to get a 50K and see a big fat rejection? Let me know. How's the NFT market? Somebody says, it's funny. So Robert thinks we're going to 77K. Charles thinks we're just going up. Yeah, somebody says I couldn't see the annotations. Yeah, I was kind of, for some reason I couldn't, I didn't have my information on the screen. Somebody said 70K next month. Hey, that'd be okay with me. 75 to 80K is what a lot of predictions in the chat. Somebody says up and to the right like Will Smith's wind up. Yeah, I did see the replay clip of that. Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. So we can also check what's going on with the Ether price. I mean, I think a lot of stuff is going to be following Bitcoin right now. But I do think that we could likely see, some significant outperformance in ETH in terms of explosive price moves. Okay. So basically, I talked about these on Friday, kind of watching the ETH chart and looking at this downtrend. Okay. And waiting for it to be broken. And it looks pretty convincingly broken. So, I do want to see a little bit of volatility enter back into the crypto market. What I mean by that is basically we're inevitably going to have some correction, right? Crypto goes up and down. And when it goes down, I want to see how far it goes down before we get too excited about this trend. But it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good in the short term. Somebody says 70K easy if the news stays okay. Yeah, we definitely want to watch out what's going on with the news. Somebody says it's not so hard not to check prices every 5 minutes right now. Yeah, I totally understand that. That's a pretty good indication of what social sentiment is. You can use your own psychology as a proxy for probably what most people are thinking. Somebody says think of rejection at 60, come back down to 48.50, then bounce back up. Okay, so we can take a look at a couple of the other things that are happening here. Let's see here. Let's take a look at, all the other assets across the space. I mean, everything. I mean, we're just seeing it's just like green, except for Terra. Past 7 days. Although Terra's kind of had a big run here. Terra was sort of the lone bull that was charging off into infinity while everybody else was still in the red. So you could very well say that Terra has sort of led some of the rally here. But yeah, everything is just like green across the board. I mean, appetite for risk is really coming back. It's almost like it doesn't even matter what you've held if it's on the first page of CoinGecko over the past, several weeks. Like you're likely seeing some appreciation for sure. So somebody says, likely could see a bull run sooner in NFTs. Yeah, I could definitely see that. NFTs have kind of cooled off a little bit. And it's one of those things where you see this pattern play a lot where Bitcoin runs and then alts, and I say alts. Lots of other stuff sort of follows that, and we sort of see the explosive moves by smaller cap assets. It's really, things that are worth less than, $1 trillion. Kind of catching up with what Bitcoin's doing. And now we're adding NFTs to that list. Now, that doesn't mean every NFT is going to come back. Some NFTs will likely just go to zero. Not everything's going to work. But, what's been going on with the Bored Apes has been pretty impressive. And we could see some of that trickle down to other NFT projects for sure. So this is what I think. Will Bitcoin break 60K in April? So I'm not going to make any short-term price predictions. Mostly just going to track the trend and where I think things are generally headed. But I'm getting more and more confidence in things moving up faster. So let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. $50K this week seems fair as a comment in the comment section. Be fine with me. The other part is, I mean, moving up pretty fast. And I don't want to move up too fast because, you know, that's... we see what happens when Bitcoin sort of moves up too fast. You know, it also goes down pretty fast. But if we look at sort of what happened last, you know, summer, because again, we did have this sort of like miniature bear market last summer that was about 3 months long. This one's been longer, about 4 months long. But as it started climbing out of it, like, actually, this is the ETH chart. Hold on, let me pull a Bitcoin chart. You know, as we started climbing out of it, like, it rose pretty quickly, right? You see these candles, like, it was a fast rise. We went from 30K up to, you know, 41, small correction, and then we were back above, like, $50,000. This was, let's see, this was July 21st. August 21st, July 21st to August 24th was basically, you know, in like high 20s to low 50s, right? Like up into September. So we're basically within a month, you know, pushing a 40-ish% increase in the Bitcoin price. So that's what can happen. Okay. So if that were to play out, if a scenario similar to that were to play out, you know, we could be back up, you know, close to 60K in April, you know, maybe even push past that to an all-time high. I don't know. You know, I'm not trying to call short-term prices. I don't have like targets you're supposed to watch out for, but I'm looking at indicators and where they could say that we're headed. Okay. So the other really interesting thing about this is going to be what this means for sort of crypto, you know, bear markets. I'm going to use it in air quotes. And the reason I use it in air quotes is because we see so many, some people use bear market in crypto as synonymous with the just grueling crypto winners that we've seen in the past, like 2018 through 2019, you know, 2-year, you know, multi-year bear market. We've seen it even before then, right? That's just the one that I know very well because that's the one I lived through. I got into the space in 2017 and instantly, you know, was very, very quickly acquainted with what bearishness in crypto feels like, for like grueling, harsh bearishness. And so if you've been in crypto since like 2020, like anything that's been bearish since then has been like temporary, in my opinion, compared to that. So these have been bear markets, right? But they have not been the grueling, absolutely insane crypto winters that of the past. So one potential thesis or theory, you know, like one potential outlook is that we don't have those in crypto anymore. That basically that crypto is has reached this new level of adoption where we can have these boom and busts, but the bear markets are not that long. So like this is like 3 months, this is like 4 months, maybe like a 3 to 6 month sort of time horizon where you see this bearish price action before things kind of resume an uptrend. And that just looks like a much bigger volatility, right? You can kind of think of like a fractal, right? Like you see volatility in a small time horizon and a much larger time horizon. And maybe as the asset class gets bigger, especially in major caps like Bitcoin, you sort of see this big picture, you know, big volatility that could, you know, even diminish. So we'll see. I mean, it stands to reason as the supply gets more distributed, it's a stronger holder base. There's, you know, more people who believe in the asset class longer term. You definitely could see the volatility diminish quite a bit and then therefore not have as insane bear markets. Now, the other thing that would invalidate that is if you have a massive parabolic blow off top. Let's say Bitcoin went to 200K in the next 2 to 3 months, like you're probably going to see a pretty sharp correction. But the reason I bring it up about this particular, you know, correction is if we do continue to resume our uptrend, I think we're going to a lot of people who are going to think, yeah, maybe our bear markets have gotten a lot shorter in crypto, and that could be a new feature of this market, which would make it a pretty big game changer. Somebody says, how long do we think it'll see a bull run for? Well, it's a good question. You know, if we enter into more of a super cycle, like I was talking about before, where you basically see this tech trend that's going up and to the right with boom and bust along the way with these like miniature bear markets of a few months, then that doesn't really stop. You know what I mean? It's a super cycle. And it could stop if you saw massive, you know, euphoria, and go into much longer correction. But, you know, if it's here to stay and people are not going to abandon it just because they don't want to play with it anymore and it continues to make them money, then it very well could be a super cycle. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. There are these videos out so more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master's shortcut entirely, I can become a blockchain master step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You get to be an expert to get started today. Help people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.